Did Bitcoin's bull market just get cancelled? What happened on Friday? Could this drop have been predicted? And most importantly, what can you expect next on the chart? As usual, what we'll do is go over what happened since our last update and then dive into what's happening today. So if I go on the 1 hour chart, in our last update, if you remember, Bitcoin was right there at around $69,000. And personally, I wanted to see higher prices. But I shared one resistance along the way, which was above the high of this candle right there. So what I wanted to see was a move above this high, a move above $70,000, and then a retracement to the downside. If you remember, that's what I said in my last update. So then if I go back on the 1 hour chart, that's exactly what happened. We got a move above this high, a move above $70,000, and then a drop of about 2.5%, as you can see right there. So personally, very simply, I opened a short above $70,000, which was right there, but unfortunately, I did not take profits on the drop. In hindsight, of course, this wasn't the best decision, but still, this was a tiny loss. And then, of course, I still had my long position opened from the previous update. But when price moved up above this high and I got stopped out, I updated the Discord and said that the next resistance in my eyes was at around $71,100. So again, what I did is very simple. I opened a short against this level and closed it pretty quickly this time at $70,500. And the reason for that is because, as I said, I wanted to look for bigger shorts if we got a larger drop and started losing important support. So this brings us to what happened on Friday. What happened on this part of the chart? In my opinion, this drop was actually pretty easy to predict for two main reasons. The first one is what I shared on the Discord, and that was that on this move up, as you can see right there on this candle, we had the biggest volume spike on the bullish candle that we had in weeks. So what this told us, as I said right there, is that the market maker was trapping longs near the highs. And if we couldn't break this day's highs, then this would be a bit of a problem in my opinion. And what happened, if we go back to the charts, we tried to break above these highs as you can see with this candle, but closed back into the range. So that was the first sign. And the second sign is what I talk very often on the Discord, and that is that before big events, if I just search for it, big events, as you can see right there, before big events, when prices are going up, this means that big players are offering out Bitcoin. They're trying to exit the market and also opening shorts. And what did we have on Friday? Right before this high right there was, if I go over to Forex Factory, on Friday the 7th of June, we had the non-farm employment change. And these news were very important because if the number, which is right there, 272,000, came above expectations, then this would mean that the economy is doing well, which means that the Fed will be less likely to lower rates. And of course, what the markets want are lower rates. So when this number came in much higher than expectations, of course, this was very bad news for the markets, because as I said, this means that the Fed will probably not lower rates. And that's why, for these two reasons, this move was somewhat easy to predict. We had this first signal that I shared on the Discord with this candle right there, as you can see, with this massive volume spike, and then we had the move up right before the news, which usually means that big players are selling right before the news come out. Now personally, I cannot take full credit for this analysis, very simply because I did not trade this move. And the reason for that is because I don't trade on Friday. But this being said, you now understand what happened since our last update, but what's happening today on the charts. What can you expect next on Bitcoin? Well, usually, when we have big moves in the market, what I like to do is go back to the Elliott wave count. And the last time that we updated it, if you remember, was on this low at $57,000. So if I remind you of it, we have a wave 1, 2, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a wave 5 much higher. So now what Bitcoin is doing is putting in the wave 3, as you can see right there, this wave 3. So it's putting in the wave 3 in a 5 wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we are up in a wave 5, which will also be put in a 5-wave move. So if I go on the 4-hour chart, what we now have, in my opinion, is a completed wave 1. Because what it seems is that we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's personally how I would look at this price action. So since this wave is complete, this means that the wave 1 of this larger wave 5 right there is now complete. What does this mean? Well, it simply means that now we have a wave 2 to come, which could bring price a bit lower on the charts. This being said, that's mostly it for the Elliott waves. I don't want to dive too deep into different counts. I don't think that is too important. Again, the reason that I look at them is to help put context on price action. And right now, it does seem like this impulse is probably complete, and now we are putting in a wave 2 on the charts, which would bring prices much lower. If we go back to our levels, what does this mean for the charts? Well, what I've been talking about in previous update was the point of control of this range. If you remember, I said that this level was very important. And as you can see, it did offer very nice support right there on this bounce. And then again, it offered support on this second bounce right there, which is where I opened my last long position. But now, since I expect a bigger drop as I just explained, I personally would not look at this point of control as an important support. So what do we have below it? Well, to me it's pretty obvious honestly. We have these big imbalances. If I add volume, you can see big volume spike on this candle, which are still unfilled imbalances. So the target for this drop, if we are to move lower, would be in my opinion below the low of this candle, and possibly if I go on the daily chart, we have a daily order block right there. So below us, I would be looking at this area, which is very important, between $64,500 and $63,000. So if price next week, for example, moves higher and then comes down, I would look for longs inside of this area, of course, if I see a reaction that I like. So then above us, what do we have? Again, it's pretty obvious, same logic. We have imbalances below us with all of these big bearish candles. So next week, if Bitcoin is able to break above the high of these imbalances right there, personally at this point, I would expect higher prices and probably a new all-time high. But mainly personally, I want to look for shorts if we move up back above $70,000. Again, because I believe that Bitcoin is probably putting in a larger wave 2 and possibly a drop back to these imbalances right there. So honestly, that's mainly it for this update. We have one important resistance above us, which is again these imbalances on this candle. I would probably look at the upper half of this candle, and then below us, as I said, I'm just interested in one support level, which would come in at around $63,000, again between these two levels. And as usual, if there's something that you did not understand, we talk about all of these inside of our courses. As you can see, we have a lot of courses. Imbalances are talked about inside the horizontal levels course, and the Elliott Waves course will be coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that. This being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this update, and as usual, I'll see you in the next one.